Chapter 12, B.F. Skinner, reading. Summary. The question of control. How do we explain the concept of human behavior being a form of control? An individual behaves upon the environment, and what they accomplish is vital to their continued existence and the existence of the species. Science and technology are simply manifestations of this critical aspect of human behavior. Comprehending, prediction, and estimation, as well as technological applications, represent the influence of nature. Our behavior is in conjunction with our response to our environment. Example, children respond and interaction with technology is an aspect of their behavior that is vital to their existence as a species. We behave and interact in a controlled environment that allows us to flourish. We eat because we must. Our appetite is controlled by our need to eat, to survive. We control our behavior to consume food, but we cannot change the nutrition our body requires from eating food. Hence, we can only alter our controlling situation. What is counter control? Institutions such as government, religion, and economic systems wield dominance over you. It reinforces the control of those systems that exert it. This control causes an aversive reaction but allows those in control to continue to use control over you by moving toward exploitation of you. How do you then take back control? By using counter control, which pushes you to act by escaping, living off the grid, and schism from your religion. Acquiring the tools to manipulate the control system to break free or benefit from it if it is necessary. The rejection to control is counter control, which is the acceptance and execution to rebel against control, i.e., 1. Escaping from the controller, and 2. Attack to weaken or destroy the controlling power. What is counter control? Reciprocal action. What the controller is blinded by is the consequence. The reciprocal action, acting in such a manner that another individual is reinforced and therefore reinforces us in return, probably due to genetic endowments such as parental care of the youth. Moreover, when we violate others, we are frequently hurt in return. Hence, this behavior diminishes the odds of survival of the species. Ethics and compassion. What regrettable consequence frequently occurs when individuals are charged for their unethical behavior? We fail to account for the part of our social environment in influencing this unethical behavior, and thus do not work to reestablish a social environment in which people behave in ethical and moral ways. How does Skinner respond to the notion that ascribing a person's moral and ethical behavior to environmental variables implies a form of moral relativism? An environment account is not relativism in this sense. Ethical and moral contingencies of reinforcement have their particular consequences. The struggle for freedom. Under what kinds of controlling conditions does a person tend to feel free and not feel free? Operant behavior, feel free, under positive reinforcement requires an urgent antecedent stimulus which might be a cause, and consequently it has been called free will. Not feel free. Impulse behavior as an instantaneously antecedent stimulus, which can be a trigger. and is known as involuntary. Likewise, negatively reinforced operant behavior is produced in the presence of the aversive condition from which the behavior escape. We do what we have to, not what we want to. We produce our behavior because our reaction to a specific type of consequence. The struggle for freedom continues. Skinner's explanation saying that a person is not free even if he has a feeling of freedom. The sense of freedom arises when our behavior is produced under positive reinforcement. Nevertheless, the behavior is still triggered by the reinforcement we are receiving. Thus, the crucial reality is that we do not tend to avoid or counteract under this type of control. Freedom is when I explain to my class that because of them completing their homework on time and handing it in, they will receive no homework for one day. This allows my student to turn in their homework on time. The controlling social environment. According to Skinner, how control is concealed. Control is camouflage when it is represented as changing minds rather than changing behavior. The control of behavior is hidden or disguised in psychotherapy, education, and religion when the role of the teacher, therapist, or priest is said to be the guide, direct, rather than to manage, and where measures which cannot be so disguised are rejected as interventions. We must be receiving interventions because it is part of control in a social environment. It changes our behavior. As a teacher, I employ control in a manner that is non-threatening. Example, and it allows me to teach and guide my students without rejection of my methods. What is culture? A collection of contingencies of reinforcements supported by a group or perhaps laid out in rules and laws as a clear-cut physical stature as an ongoing existence beyond the lives of members of group, a modified pattern as procedures are included, abandoned, or modified, and above all power. Culture controls the behavior of the members of the group that practices it. What is culture? The vital thing is that culture evolves. A procedure occurs as a mutation. It changes the odds that the group will resolve its problems, and as the group persists, the practice survives with it. It has been chosen by its contribution to the efficiencies of individuals who practice it. And my two questions are as follow. How would you answer the question of determinism versus free will? This is a very interesting question. That's question one. Question two, is determinism incompatible with society's idea of responsibility and self-control? That from the basis of our moral and legal obligations? Because here we have in psychology the two strand, the school of determinism and the school of free will. One could say Maslow, Skinner. Nonetheless, my answer to both questions are laid out, and I give my take, and I'm looking forward to you guys to give your take on these questions. And again, my contention is both of these, as I was saying, my son came inside to put on pause, but here I am again. Again, free will is necessary. The idea of free will is necessary. The idea of the concept of determinism is necessary also. We need both strength. Now, how do we square that? How do we square that, regarding both? How are both utilized? Because one is not absolute, nor is the other absolute. They both have their place, but how do we reconcile the two? That's my question to the class, and I hope you guys have fun with that question and really, give me some food for thought. I'm looking forward to your answers. And again, thank you for this. If I went too fast, I apologize. But again, if you have any questions, if you're confused about anything, just email me or ask a question on the discussion board, and I'll get back to you right away as soon as I can. Take care. Bye. Good night.